I'm taking apart this Duracell Powerpack. I had bought it as an emergency starter battery, but it also has a DC port, a cigarette lighter port, USB ports, and then also 2 AC ports here. And then this one here is to charge the battery pack with an AC cord. So I'm setting up the electrical in my van right now, and I don't have a brand new fancy AGM battery that I want to get. But for now, I want to at least get all the wiring done and done properly, so I figured taking apart this would suffice, because it's got a battery in it, obviously, and then it's already got its own inverter because you have like your AC plugs there, and you know, all these like battery level things, which aren't working right now because I have it kind of already apart, but you know, like I could utilize all of this in one unit itself and just take the parts that I need out of it. Once you actually take off the side paneling, this is basically what you have here. So let me lean that back. So you have your little battery. So this is only you can see it's just an 18 amp hour battery, but it's completely sealed, so it's just like a mini AGM battery. So I've already kind of undone some of the wiring here. So I'll just take this off, so that you want to make sure that you completely disengage the battery before you start messing with any of this inside stuff. Alright, so this is the inside of this little battery pack. So right here, this is the air compressor, and you can see the air compressor cord go back here. And then on the inside, I already took off the wiring to it, but this right here was the switch to the air compressor. So I already undid those. This is a little circuit breaker here. I think it's like a 20 amp circuit breaker. Yeah. So this was screwed in here, and that was connected to directly to the battery. So this little one here connects to, oh boy. This one here connects to the battery, and they usually have, like, they say on there, like, this is the battery. That's for the auxiliary. So this is actually for the DC port, the cigarette lighter up here. Up at the top. Let's see. And then, so then these were the cables to basically like the inverter stuff, and all the power basically is going to here. So we don't really need the air compressor right now, and I'll probably salvage this and maybe build like a standalone air compressor later. But for now, what I'm focusing on is this area here. Because this is basically the inverter and all the power supply to the USB ports and the cigarette lighter port, and also to power the battery with the AC, which I still want to keep that. Okay, so this part, this came out of the side panel right here. This is the front of the box. So you could see, well, you could hear my dog wrestling with his toy. But you could see all the cool little components to this. This was hooking up directly to the battery. This is the negative for the negative terminal, or the ground terminal. A couple things that I did here was I unscrewed this, the circuit breaker for the DC, the cigarette lighter port, because I want to keep that. I still want to use the DC port, or the cigarette lighter port, so I'm going to keep this circuit breaker in case anything funky happens. And so this was kind of hooked up to the air compressor, so you can see I snipped off like the cord that went to the air compressor hotline. So I snipped that, and I'll tape this up with some electrical tape. But I might end up actually removing this because the battery pack will now be outside of this box, so I might need to extend this later. So I removed this part, and I'll probably end up salvaging this box for this unit, but I'll probably just like cover this up with something. The other thing I did here was this was going directly to the battery as well, and what it was, it's for this, it was working in conjunction with the power cables, the jumper cables. It's to this little LED here to let you know if you put the clamps on the wrong way or backwards. So we won't need that now because we're not going to be using those jumper cables anymore. What I did instead of snipping this cord, I just covered up the ring terminal for now with some electrical tape. Just because, you know, that LED is already there. I might want to hook this up to something else to light up that LED, but since I'm just opening it up and I haven't really decided what I want to do with that yet, I'm just going to cover this for now. But with this standalone casing, it's kind of nice that it's all together in this one, in the front part of the battery box. So I won't need to mess with any of this. And actually what I think I'll do is cut the battery box that goes over this, just cut it so that it's much smaller, and then you know, put like a backing on it so it doesn't mess with any of this electrical stuff back here, and then just have like a little hole that connects to the battery outside of it, so that the battery here is its own thing. So when I do get a nice fancy new AGM battery, all I have to do is just swap it out. Okay, so here is the new and improved box. Basically I just cut off the back of it, so there's a few like little spots that I didn't cut very well, but for the most part it's, you know, I just cut it with like a handsaw and then filed it, not filed, but like used sandpaper to sand it down a little bit. One of the things I did, so there was a few different cords here coming out of the cigarette lighter port, and then that also hooks into, it's hard to get it focused, but it hooks into a board back there, some wires going through, and that I found is actually helping run some of the functionality of the lights up here. So for some reason it's going through the DC, the cigarette lighter plug, connecting here and then going there to the circuit board. So because of that, and because of the way the battery is set up where everything was so close together, the live wire from that was really short. It was like up to here. So what I did is I just crimped a butt connector on it, and just to extend the cord, and just put another ring terminal on it. Same thing with, so let me open this up a little bit. The same thing with the ground wire. This actually goes to a circuit breaker down here, and that used to be on the back part of the battery pack. So I just basically brought this up closer so it fits in this little box, and just screwed it in right here. And so this is the ground wire going into the circuit breaker, then this wire goes to the negative of the battery. So same thing with this one. It was a really short wire because this was in the back of the battery pack, and so it was a lot closer to the negative. So now we've moved the circuit breaker over here, but we in turn need to extend the ground wire for that. So I had some extra wire from another like extension cord that was the same gauge. So I was able to do that pretty easily with some butt connectors. I also built a plastic covering for the back, which I'll screw in, but everything will just kind of sit in that little box. And one more thing to add to this, there is a little fan here in this side panel. In the side panel for the inverter. So there's a little vent on the outside to probably pull out the air. There's also another one on the other side to probably suck in the air to keep the inverter pretty cool. So there is a little plug for it right in here. So that just taking that out helped me be able to like take this all apart, so that I had it completely disconnected so that I could just work on this to cut it. Okay, so I just wanted to show this before I put the cover on fully. So this is the cover that I made. It's just like it's a plastic lid to something that wasn't being used. So I just cut out the shape of the box. I can always paint it later. I have some like rubber paint that might be kind of nice if I don't want to see it, but I think it's kind of cool to see all the electronics inside and like the circuit board. But so I just wanted to show this. That was my dog going by. So I drilled holes in the bottom here, kind of all around. What's nice about this box is that like there's nothing that's really here, so I didn't have any fear of going through or like hitting any wires or anything like that. So I just did that all around, and so I'll put it together now so you can see the finished product. Here is the finished product. This looks pretty cool. I like the, you can see the circuit board in there and stuff. So right now I have 2 hot wires coming out. One's kind of handling all the stuff from like the inverter to, I believe the trickle charger kind of comes through this as well. And then this is the one that goes to into the DC, the cigarette lighter port, but then they'll also connect some of the lighting on the front. Same thing with ground for both. As you can see, we have everything set up. We've got the hot wires on the positive, and we've got the ground wires on the negative of the battery. And everything seems to be functioning pretty well. Sorry for the glare, but yeah, so we have the battery level showing up, which is great. USB is turning on. You can see the little light pop up there, and I've already tested my phone on it to make sure that it's charging like it should. AC, you hear the fan kick on and the little light for that turn on, so that seems to be working good. I'll probably run a few more tests and making sure that the AC plugs are working, that the cigarette lighter plug is working, that the trickle charger here to charge the battery is working. So I'll do all that. This is also a lot smaller, so I think I'm going to be able to fit it where I want to without too much issue. As for the air compressor, I cut the body in such a way that I could still use the handle that I had on it. This is the handle that was for the battery pack, so I could still hook this onto the other half of the battery pack shell when I want to, and then I'll probably set up a little box for the air compressor later, because I think it's still good to have. This obviously isn't going to hold me over very much in the van. It's only 18 amp hours, I believe. So it's not really going to do a whole lot. I mean, most of the time I'm just running my my lights at night anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And this, if it's just running the lights, that'll probably last a long time. But in the long run, it's not really that good of a battery. So building it this way, I can go and just buy a new battery when I'm ready to, and then just hook it into this system without having to, buy all of these new things. Like, a lot of people have to dish out a lot of money at first to, set up this whole system. They need their battery. They need to buy an inverter. They need to buy a trickle charger if they want to, hook it up to shore power to charge the battery. I bought this battery pack last year sometime for around $100. I think maybe it was more like 80. I'm not an electrician. I'm not a pro. I'm kind of learning this stuff as I go with everything else in the van. So other than that, just let me know what you guys think.